Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome, everyone. Glad you could join me here today on our Total Wellness Tuesday episode of the week. We're going to start with the best time of the day to begin your fast, and I'll also share when the best time is to break it as well. This is going to be based on what we chatted about just a few weeks ago, and it has to do with the diurnal rhythm of the body, but we're actually going to go deeper today. So if you're someone who loves to talk about biohacking, or you like to talk about body temperature, you like to talk about oxygen, REM sleep, deep sleep, heart rate variability, all that good stuff, or maybe you're new to it, we're going to introduce you to some of these concepts here today. And then I'm actually going to give you a test to do yourself. Because one of the things that I really love to preach and talk about is that there are scientific fundamentals that we should all be following. There really are. Like, some of the stuff that I see on social media is just one person's account of what made them feel better. And there are multiple variables of why that person felt better doing this. But it doesn't mean they ever got to an underlying foundational based level. They just felt better when they started drinking, Tang. I have no idea, right? Like, whatever it is, you can insert whatever you want. And so they can come up with a bunch of different reasons. But my job is to share with you the actual scientific fundamentals. And then as a clinician, as someone that's worked in this field, just to back it up with tens of thousands of labs that I've run as well. But then I want you to be able to actually verify it for yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give you a few things that you can test out over the next week or two, and then come back with your own data. So for the most part, I want to share with you, for the most part, the popular thing to do right now with intermittent fasting is to skip breakfast, right? I mean, that's the most popular way to do it. And if you haven't heard about that before, well, basically people will eat within an 8-hour window. It's called a 16-8 intermittent fast. I have a bunch of shows, like literally A to Z on intermittent fasting. You can go to stephencabral.com/IF. Just go to stephencabral.com/IF. If you do that, it's all my intermittent fasting shows. It's also on iTunes as well, should you want to do that. And the reason why I mentioned that is because you could download everything you ever wanted to know about intermittent fasting on these shows. And it's because I take it from an unbiased perspective. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm presenting every different type of intermittent fasting, 12 hours, 14, 16, skipping breakfast, skipping dinner, skipping lunch. I talk about fasting in Ramadan and the studies there. I talk about warrior diet. I talk about every different type. And I give you the pros and cons and how it affects men differently than women, et cetera. Again, just unbiased perspective from someone that's read the research, the material, and also practiced it themselves and in practice. Okay, so most people, though, they do 16-8. So what does that mean? Okay, so it basically just means they're going 16 hours without eating, and they're skipping breakfast. So keep in mind, most people aren't actually following this because they're spiking blood sugar in the morning, which breaks their fast. They might be doing that because they're sensitive to caffeine and they drink coffee or whatever it might be, or they're putting fat in their coffee. And again, I have a whole podcast on which foods break a fast and which foods don't. So we'll try to link that up here today. Why don't I link up a bunch of shows for you just that I talk about? Head on over to stephencabral.com/2384, stephencabral.com/2384. I'll make sure my team and I link up some of those shows. Okay, so if we do the math and you're fasting till noon, let's just say noon, right? So then we need to count back 4 more hours. So it's 8 p.m. So most people are doing like an 8 p.m. to noon fast. Now, again, some people will do one meal a day. Some people start later in the day. I'm just going to go with this as an example for right now. So people are eating lunch and dinner. So they're doing 2 meals a day. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. I'm just saying that's the most popular form. Okay. I've shared, though, many, many times why skipping breakfast is not the most, I would say, advantageous thing to do for your hormones in the long run. Okay. In the short term, it can help with digestion if you have digestive problems. It can help with burning body fat, if you have to lose some weight. It can help with a lot of different things. There's no doubt about it. But there's a better way to do it. There really is. And the reason is that if you're running labs or you're over-caffeinated in the morning, you're stressing your nervous system. And what we see is, again, this is more women than men, and I've got a whole show on this, but this is very important, especially for women, is that we see thyroid function actually begin to decline over time. And that is because you're putting yourself in a more stressful state. Not eating is a stressful state. Like, it's a stressful state. Doing a workout's a stressful state. Doing sauna is a stressful state. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. But let's say you're working out in the morning and you're doing it fasted. That is a stressful state in the body. So if your body is not as strong constitutionally right now, well, we see a lot of women, especially even like maybe a keto-based diet, they do well on it for 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks, and then their numbers start to decline. And that has to do with free T4, free T3, TSH, and we can look at those cortisol levels, which can go up as well in terms of stress. But there's one more thing. It can affect what's called estrogen dominance as well. I'm not going to get into that today. Again, I have a whole course on it. I've got free podcasts on it, so you can check that out. What I want to share with you here today, though, is just a different way of looking at this. I don't believe that you need to skip breakfast. I don't believe that you need to do 2 meals a day. I believe that you can get all of your benefits and still eat 3 meals a day. I believe you can get all of your benefits and fast 12 to 16 hours a day. So what I'm saying is, I'm not telling you how many hours a day to fast. I think you'll be able to figure that out. The sweet spot I found for me is 6 at night to 8 in the morning. Might not be the sweet spot for you, and that's okay. But I start to really ramp up my day around 7:30 a.m. or so. And so I want to get food in my body within the next 10, 20 minutes or so. But for you, again, my day might start slower. You might be more relaxed, whatever it might be. And what I want to share with you, though, is probably the most important part, regardless of how long you decide to fast, is that skipping dinner, and I'm not telling you to skip dinner. I don't skip dinner, all right? But skipping dinner or having an earlier dinner will almost 100%, so not 100% of the time, but almost in 100 people out of 100, will improve all of their biomarkers for health. Every single one. But again, I'm not asking you to believe me here today. I'm saying use an Oura Ring, use a BioStrap, use a Whoop strap, use whatever biometric tracking-based device you like, all right? What I want you to do is put it to the test for this. I go to bed around 10 p.m. So if I stop eating at dinner at 6, okay, and there's about a half-hour window. It could be between 5:30 and 6:30. It just kind of depends where we're at that night as a family. But if I have dinner no later than 6, my biomarkers are all great. What does that mean? My HRV is high, meaning like high for me, good baseline. My heart rate drops into the mid-50s, which is, for me, it's a good heart rate. Again, different constitutions, different body types, etc. My REM sleep is above 2 hours. My deep sleep is an hour and a half or above. My body temperature drops 0.2 or more degrees. Like all of the markers that say, hey, you're getting rejuvenating sleep and recovering overnight, improve. All right. Here's what I want to share with you, though. Let's say it's a Friday night, or I was just literally in California last week, and I recorded actually some weekend podcasts, so you'll see that as well. I did them in my hotel room. They're coming up this weekend. And I love doing that because I love being in it still where I'm away, and we'll save that for another day. So the thing is this, I had totally off sleep schedules, 3 hours difference. I went out to dinner at 7 p.m. with colleagues of mine. Okay, that's not ideal. Right? But I also like to live my life every once in a while, right? We do these things. That's 10 p.m. East Coast time. I never eat at 10 p.m. Okay. So now it's 7 and I'm going to bed later. Okay. All of my biomarkers dropped. Well, you might say, well, that's because you were traveling East Coast to West Coast. Totally get it. So this is why I'm giving you other things to try for yourself. Try eating an hour before bed one night, right? Like if this is your typical schedule, I'm not telling you to make it worse, but let's say you go to bed let's just say you go to bed at 10 and you typically eat at 8. Okay. So you're eating at 8 o'clock. What I would love for you to do is just for 1 week, try eating at 6 p.m. Might not be easy. You might not ever be able to sustain it. But if you eat 2 hours earlier, and I think this would just be good in general, try to eat 2 hours earlier. All right. If you do that and you get 4 hours before you go to bed, seems to be the sweet spot even over 3 hours, but 3 hours is good. Go to bed at 10, stop eating at 7. Go to bed at 10, ideally stop eating at 6. If you just move back 2 hours from wherever you're at right now, do it for a week. You have to give yourself a week. Make sure there's no other variables, not a different sleep time, not greater stress, not different supplements, not anything, right? Keep that variable the same. Tell me, leave me, let me know in a future comment if you improved HRV, deep sleep, REM sleep, heart rates, overall heart rate dropping, and body temperature dropping. Let me know if they improved. I would be shocked. Most people are going to improve, like 99 out of 100. Who wouldn't? Well, sometimes people with hypoglycemia or other issues may not. And I totally get that. They need to work on that first, and then they can start the fast a little bit earlier. Let me share with you something else. Every once in a while, if I'm traveling and I'm not meeting people for dinner, or I am doing, obviously, our 7-day functional medicine detox, and I know we're doing one again in September. I don't know the release of this. I know is in August, right? Yeah, mid-August, just about a week from now. And typically you'll see a remarkable improvement. There's stress in the body when you're doing a functional medicine detox, so it's not always the case. But what I want to share with you is this. Sometimes I'll just do a smoothie or a shake before bed. And I'll do that, though, earlier. So it'd be like 4 or 5 p.m. It'll be even earlier. And if I do it with just literally water and the daily nutritional support, something like that, and it's digested even faster, I get my absolute best heart rate variability, which is one of your best signs of getting into the parasympathetic nervous system recovery. And I'm not talking about like a small improvement. I'm talking about like a 20 to 30% improvement, like a lot. I mean, it's very impressive. And so why do I share that with you? Well, the reason why I share that with you is that you're proving it to yourself. And it's not what you do in just a day or 2 days, but it's what's happening to your body over time. So as I began to move my dinner earlier, so my wife and I used to eat dinner at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night before we had kids. And the reason is we both worked until like 8 o'clock. We were single. We both loved our work. We worked. And that was it. Like, we enjoyed our night. We had enjoyed it later dinner. We'd eat out probably 3 nights a week, maybe 4. And that was that. But now that I'm tracking my biometric information, and I see that on a consistent basis, I know what eating late does. I also know, and that's why I don't drink very much alcohol, drinking alcohol 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night plummets my scores across the board. And so when you begin to track this information, and yes, there's a little cost to purchasing one of these devices. You can choose whatever device you like. I've done reviews on the Oura Ring versus the Apple Watch. I've done Oura Ring versus this product or that product. Choose the one that you like. But if you have this information, you get to see without a doubt what's working for you. Now, the other nice thing is this, though. You also get to see what's not working for you, right? And sometimes, though, that can be a little challenging. Oh, going to bed later hurts your scores. Eating later hurts your scores. Working out later helps or hurts your scores, right? Drinking alcohol hurts your scores. And so for me, I love to look at these things because I also say, well, what then helps the scores? Oh, moving dinner earlier, easier to digest dinner, taking magnesium and maybe some zinc at dinner, taking adrenal soothe at dinner. Okay, good. Sleep help support at right before bed. Like, all these things can help. But again, you can prove it for yourself using some high quality organic CBD. That can help for many people. So what I'm saying is you have the ability to, as Dr. Andrew Saul says, to doctor yourself, right? Yes, you want a protocol and all that from a practitioner, no doubt about it, but you get to implement these things. So I want to share with you just one final thing. So always be careful just listening to people tell you things just because it's getting surface level results. Be careful with that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't skip breakfast. I'm actually not telling you not to do that. In our Fatlocity weight loss system, we have people typically not eat until 10 a.m. Is it skipping breakfast? I don't know. It's basically semantics. It's however you want to look at it. But we don't go all the way till noon. And we move it back earlier if we find this person has higher cortisol levels in the morning, higher cortisol awakening response, or stress level spikes in glucose. Like, we do all of those things. And again, it can be customized. But it still allows you to get 3 meals in per day. 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock, however you like to space them out. Because the other part to it, which I'm not going to get into today, is also micronutrients. Like, do you want to have an enormous meal? Okay, well, if so, do you want that right before bed? because I'm guaranteeing you that if you check your biometrics on that, all that energy being need to used for digestion, like in the warrior diet or the one meal a day, be careful about that. One meal a day, some people can get away with it. But if you look at it, okay, what did Ayurveda say? Ayurveda says midday, mid-meal, right? Like right around that 1 o'clock or so, 1 o'clock. Why? Digestion is going to be the strongest, as long as obviously you relax at that meal. But if you do it before bed, every natural health system in the world has always said, eat light before bed, easy to digest foods. And again, I'm not always following that. I can tell you that. But the dinner that I have before bed is healthy, right? So it's going to be some protein, some healthy carbs, which definitely helps me with sleep, some great veggies and some healthy fat. No fried foods, none of that really heavy stuff that's going to weigh you down. So it's at least something to think about. This, though, works with every single intermittent fasting-based plan. Even if you want to do 16-8, okay, well, we do that with the Fatlocity-based system. We're just moving it earlier, right? So what are your 8 hours? 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? So what I'm saying is whatever program you're following, you can still do it. One meal a day, well, you could. You just want it earlier and earlier, right? So today I won't go over what the best intermittent fasting plan is for you. I'm going to let you start to decide that. But also I was hoping that you would begin to feel empowered to be able to track your own results, keep an open mind, and also begin to look at what I've seen now 10,000 plus times in my practice, that the earlier you eat that dinner, the easier to digest that dinner, the better recovery overnight. And it makes sense because your energy then gets to go to recovery versus all that energy being used for digestion. So hopefully today's podcast was helpful. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. As always, feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.